Well, it looks like the economic downturn is starting to become a reality. And I think a lot of people who have money invested in the stock market are slowly starting to wake up to that fact. I'm not going to spend a ton of time talking about the stock market because, as you know, this is not my specialty, but I want to go over the highlight reel because a lot of important things happened over the past couple of days in the stock market. You know, the big one, guys, which I will talk about in more detail later in the video, was Intel. Okay, that was the one that made waves across the entire stock market. You know, the Intel stock lost 25% in one day. You know, that's the worst day that the Intel stock has seen in 50 years, guys. So if you are holding on to Intel stock, then you literally just seen the biggest loss than anybody has seen in 50 years. It's just unbelievable. The rest of the stock market, though, has been feeling some pain as well. The jobs data came out on Friday that was way worse than expected. We've seen the unemployment rate jump from 4.1% to 4.3% in just 1 month, which is another very sharp increase, which suggests it's going to keep climbing because typically that's what happens. Once we start going in this cycle where the unemployment rate continues to rise, it's probably going to just keep spiking month after month until we get close to double-digit territory. At least that's my guess at what I think is going to happen. But history tells us that that's the most likely scenario moving forward. On Friday, the S&P 500 lost 1.8% in one day. You had the 10-year Treasury notes closing in at only 3.8% as investors rushed to safety into long-term bonds. People are starting to realize that this whole economic downturn that we've been talking about here on YouTube for the last 2 years isn't actually a farce. It's been happening, but now more people are starting to realize it because it's starting to hit their wallet. The jobs report came in at only 114,000 new jobs in July, guys, which is way below expectations. This is another reason the stock market got hit. And we just got all this bad economic news in one shot, basically. You saw the unemployment rate shoot up. You saw the jobs numbers come in way below expectations. We also have manufacturing data coming in way below expectations. And so basically this whole soft landing lie that everybody has been led to believe over the past couple of years is now turning more into the crash landing that I've been talking about. You know, it's funny because just the other day we were talking about how a lot of economists and politicians were begging the Fed to do a rate cut already at their previous meeting here in July, and they failed to do so. And it's funny because they might have actually been right. They might have actually been right in the sense that they probably should have done it if they want to try to make things look better than they really are right now. People know about this. People are feeling it in their wallet. People are getting laid off. They're losing jobs. There's far fewer jobs out there to get right now. And this is helping people slowly wake up to the fact that this is now a reality, you know, because just that classic saying, right? It's a recession when your neighbor loses his job, but when you lose your job, it's a depression. And it looks like that's where things are headed. And now even economists are saying that in September, if they do cut rates, then it shouldn't be a quarter point, it should be half a point. There could be emergency rate cuts with the way things are going. And here's what you really got to watch out for. If they actually cut rates before their next meeting in September, that's how you know that they know that you know what's hitting the fan. Now here's my favorite sentence from this whole story, okay? While it certainly isn't time to panic, investors may want to temper their optimism. So everybody who has been so bullish about this economy, thinking that it is just going to continue rising forever, just got the slap in the face that they needed. And guess what? I don't care what happens with these rate cuts, but most likely these rate cuts are going to signal that the recession is official, but it's going to happen in conjunction with the economy continually disintegrating throughout the rest of the year. And when you look at the S&P 500 index, it's really been coming down since the middle of July. Okay, but we had a sharp drop over the past couple of days due to all the bad economic news. Now I want to cover a little bit of the Intel layoffs because one of my viewers actually wrote me an email who works at Intel and is worried about being personally affected by this. One of my viewers, Dave, he says that he's an engineer at Intel and he's paying very close attention to this layoff situation. He says that he's in relatively good financial situation compared to a lot of other people. He says he makes a decent salary and he has no other debt other than the $50K left on his mortgage. So congrats to you, Dave. That is very good. And he said that this layoff would still cause him a lot of stress and anxiety to lose my job at 57 years old. You know, you're getting close to retirement age and you could be facing this layoff, and a lot of places don't want to hire you once you're in this age bracket. But he did make a funny joke here. He said, I guess things could be worse, at least I don't live in California. But this Intel situation is bad, guys. The stock dropped 25% overnight, okay? And this was all due to an announcement that they're going to be cutting 15,000 jobs, you know, just like that. Profitability is in the tank right now, and just like any other corporation, the quickest way to increase that profitability is to cut staff. That's exactly what they're doing. So according to the CEO of Intel, he's saying that he's trying to save $10 billion for the company by 2025. And this is his statement. Simply put, we must align our cost structure with our new operating model and fundamentally change the way we operate, which always means that, well, see you later. Thanks for all of your hard work. It's just like all these other companies have been doing to increase their profitability in a down economy. Intel should be hiring people, guys. They're a big chip maker. They had a huge grant from the government, which we'll get into in a minute. And they should be a company that's producing jobs because they were given free money from the government to produce those jobs. But instead, they're laying off 15% of their workforce. Another thing the CEO said, our costs are too high, our margins are too low. That's all it comes down to. They need to eliminate people. That's where robots come in, that's where AI comes in. Now, the one good thing that is going to happen is that they're going to announce an enhanced retirement offering for eligible employees and offer an application program for voluntary departures. They're going to be getting a similar buyout deal like people at Stellantis are getting who are getting let go. So if you get offered one of these deals, which I hope that Dave does if he is affected by this, you should take it. You know, it makes no sense to just hang around and keep the job and hope that things are going to turn around for the company if they're offering you a generous buyout. I saw a comment from one of my viewers the other day saying that they got laid off, but they got a severance package of 1 year's salary. I mean, that's pretty good. You know, that gives you time to figure out your next move instead of just walking away completely broke and, you know, not knowing what to do next. And guess what? Pretty much all these layoffs are going to happen before the end of the year. So you probably don't know it yet, but if you work at Intel, you could be on the chopping block. There's a 15% chance that your name is on that list. And here's another thing that's hurting Intel stock. They're no longer going to be a dividend paying stock. They're going to be suspending their dividend payouts as part of their plan to cut costs, guys. So, you know, that makes the stock instantly less valuable. People who bank on that and want to get those dividend payments each month, it's another thing that just makes it less attractive to an investor, but also, you know, just shows you how bad of shape the company's in. They're letting go 15% of their workforce, they're cutting dividends, and who knows what other kind of cost-cutting measures they're going to implement, you know. Then you gotta watch out for, are they gonna be cutting corners on quality of their chips too? And get this, back in March of this year, which I don't even remember this happening, but apparently it did, the Biden administration celebrated giving Intel up to $8.5 billion in direct funding and $11 billion in loans for computer chip plants around the country because they want to bring the chip manufacturing back to America. This is part of the CHIPS Act that was passed in 2022. And back in September of 2022, President Biden praised Intel as a job creator with its plan to open a new plant near Columbus, Ohio. They get all this praise for building a new factory, and supposedly this is supposed to generate 7,000 construction jobs and 3,000 full-time jobs set to pay an average of $135,000 a year. So even if all that happened, all of that progress is now erased with this layoff, okay? All those people that were employed by Intel to build the factory, that's temporary, first of all. That's only for a few years until that's finished. And then the 3,000 full-time workers, that's a drop in the bucket compared to 15,000 losing jobs. And this could just be the first round of many for the layoffs. You know, at this point, guys, like, this has been such a bad week for the economy. I'm just sitting here wondering what's going to be next, you know? And it's weird because on the one hand, I'm like happy that I've been right about this, but on the other hand, it makes me sad that so many people are going to lose jobs, so many people are going to be affected negatively from this. You know, it's not a positive thing that this is happening to people, but it is a good thing for the overall economy and for the future of society here. You know, things have gotten way out of hand, way overheated for just way too long, and this has been a long time coming. That's why I've been talking about it for the past 2 years. And I really think this is just the beginning for a lot of different reasons. You know, there's a couple of things I saw recently that kind of confirm this on how many other businesses could end up in trouble with the way things are going. When it comes to retailers, they have been suffering for most of the year now, especially ones that have decided it's a good idea to lock up all of their merchandise, okay? And it's funny because this is something that you don't see in Florida, but once I got here in California and had to start buying some stuff for the place we rented and, you know, getting supplies, we went to one of the Targets here, and you guys can see how much stuff is locked up behind glass. You know, you have to call somebody over to have them open it up. It's a huge hassle. And this is yet another thing that's hurting retail sales because people don't want to sit around and wait for this, especially with how short-staffed a lot of these stores are. You know, you got to sit there, press a button, hope someone shows up in the next couple of minutes in order to unlock the stuff that you need. I mean, you guys can see in some of my footage here that there's entire aisles that they have locked up of stuff. And the funny thing is, some of it's kind of random, you know, like there's things that are locked up that you wouldn't expect that they would lock up. And then you have aisles of really expensive items, like you can walk into an aisle where they sell vacuums, for example, that cost $300-400. You can just grab one of those off the shelf, but I have to lock up the $5 tube of toothpaste. You know, it's kind of insane. But of course, a lot of retailers started doing this because of the rampant crime, especially in areas like this where they don't want to do anything about it. They're not prosecuting people. They're not arresting anyone that's committing these robberies, running in and grabbing all the merchandise. People don't go to jail. So the stores have to find a way to fight back, and this is their solution, but it's probably going to end up backfiring on them because customers are losing patience with it. Because some of the side effects of these plexiglass lockups are things like miserable workers. They're tired of being the ones that have to go and unlock all this and dealing with the rude customers and their attitudes, because people are also fed up with having to ask for it. So the workers really get the short end of the stick in every way you can think of. And then you have things like abandoned shopping carts, people just, you know, giving up. They're going to the store like I was going to get 10 items and now I'm only walking out with 3 or 4 because I can't get the other 5 that I need in a reasonable amount of time, especially when there's no one there to unlock anything. So the problem is these stores for decades have been designed with a self-service concept in mind. You walk in, you can grab as much or as little off the shelf as you want, and the idea behind that is it's supposed to help customers buy more merchandise. Makes sense if you can just throw stuff in the cart just like at the grocery store. I mean, we do this all the time. Yeah, you go in for maybe a handful of items and next thing you know, you walk out with double. Oh, maybe we need this, we need that, so just get it. So if people can't do that anymore, if that system breaks down, it encourages people to not shop there anymore and go somewhere else, mainly online. And the weirdest thing about it is it seems like that there's no rhyme or reason to what gets locked up. You know, they lock up like $5 toothpaste, but then the next aisle over, there's $25 bottles of shampoo that you can just grab off the shelf. And the reporter that wrote this story is saying that this is most likely because there's particular brands that thieves target that they usually go in and steal all this stuff for resale. So think about, you know, somebody going in and taking all of the Colgate toothpaste, for example, and then reselling it online on Amazon or eBay or whatever. They also typically lock up things like laundry detergent and beauty products. And me, guys, as somebody who lives in Florida, it's still very weird for me to see this. Like when I got here, I kind of forgot that they did this stuff. And when I shot those videos showing you the inside of this Target, I don't think I've ever actually seen that before in person. So I knew I was gonna come in handy at some point, and lo and behold, here you go. You can see it in this video. But it's crazy stuff, you know, like they have boxes of Rogaine, you know, the stuff to help your hair grow back, for $72 on the regular shelf. And then right next to it, you have $6 deodorant that's locked up behind the plexiglass. So it's just kind of weird that that's how it goes. You know, you have cheap things that are locked up and expensive items that you can still just grab. And it's funny because the more stuff that they lock up at these stores, it's not really a store anymore. Now it's just becoming one giant vending machine, and you have to ask somebody for help. And I wouldn't be doing that. Like if I had to deal with that all the time, I would just start buying everything online. I already kind of do that because it's convenient, and a lot of times the prices are cheaper. I don't have to get in my car, go waste gas and time and energy going to buy stuff, so it just makes more sense to buy it online for me. Plus, you guys see, I'm busy. I put out these videos 6 days a week, so I don't have a whole lot of time for shopping. Another thing I didn't think about that this hurts is comparison shopping, right? When you open up those plexiglass windows, it's not like they let you pick up, you know, 2 or 3 different deodorants or toothpaste if you want to read the ingredients, for example, or read about the company on there. Like, people like to pick up items that they're potentially going to buy and comparison shop. And this is another thing that this is hurting. But the reason I bring this up is not only because it's inconvenient, and some states make it too easy for these stores to get stolen from, like right here where I'm at, but also the more that this goes on, the more these stores are going to start hurting, the more the share prices of those stores are also going to start falling, and the more layoffs you're going to see from stores like Target and CVS and Walmart and different places that are locking this stuff up, and people get sick of it and say, you know what, I'm just going to buy everything from Amazon, or I'll just buy it from the online version of this store. And then what you see happen eventually is these stores end up closing, and it has a big detrimental effect on the neighborhood. Like, for example, I love being here in the summer, right? I love the weather. That's what I'm here for in Marin. But one thing I actually don't like about this area is it's not as convenient as where I live now. You have to drive further to go to a Target. There's only one Walgreens in this entire area down here. And that was a problem because I had to return some stuff with FedEx, and they have FedEx inside of Walgreens now for returns. And they just don't have as many amenities as I'm used to living in Miami, because obviously this is not a big city. It's more like spread out little towns around here. But I hope everybody can see how this creates a negative feedback loop with the economy, you know? The more these stores can't make sales, the more stores they close. And in areas like this, you know, closing a Target or closing a Walgreens could be detrimental. Like if they close this only Walgreens that they have in Mill Valley, you would literally have to drive who knows how far, guys, somewhere maybe to the East Bay or way north in Marin, like 30, 40 minutes away just to go to a Walgreens and make a return. How inconvenient would that be? Target. There's only 2 Targets in this whole area. There's one down in Sausalito and there's one up in San Rafael. Not very close to each other, kind of spread out. You got to drive to go to either one. If one of those places were to close, it would have a big detrimental effect on the area. So not only do these store closures and low sales and low profits hurt the actual company, it hurts the share prices, people lose jobs from it, but it also hurts the communities that they serve. So it's an all-around bad deal, and it's not really good for anyone when these stores end up closing. But yet we're on the path for that to continue happening with the way things are going. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if before the year's over we see more announcements of, you know, more Targets closing due to low sales and theft and problems like this. And it's just a never-ending story. We've already seen it happen throughout the first part of this year with Walmart and Target and CVS and different stores. Who's next? But I really think that now that the stock market has taken, you know, a noticeable hit in a short period of time, and the unemployment numbers are ticking up in an extremely meaningful way, and the jobs numbers are looking bad now, I think a lot of people are going to start waking up to the fact that, hey, this recession is happening, it has been happening, and now you're going to see the part where it starts to go from bad to worse. So I hope you guys are ready. I know I am, and I'll be here to guide you through it and report on it every step of the way. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you don't want to wait for my next video to come out, check out this one on the screen right over here, and I will see you in the next one.